After months of heartfelt texts, S ghosts me again, saying she's being weird because things are weird for me. I can't help but feel lost, especially after she confessed, "I don't think you could mess anything up." Now I'm drowning in my emotions. What do I do next? Apologies in advance for the length. I am not sure exactly what to call our relationship. I guess it is sort of a long-distance situationship. We are more than just friends, but less than an official boyfriend-girlfriend arrangement. We have been talking for 8 months now. I will refer to her as SS is a transgender female, and I am only mentioning this because I am not transgender, and I know there are experiences that transgender people go through that may be difficult for me to understand or relate to, and perhaps some transgender individuals reading this can help provide some insight. S and I have actually known each other for over 5 years. She used to live in my city and we met online. Our relationship was primarily sexual back then. We hooked up twice, even though I wanted more. It is unclear whether she also desired more at that time. I have always felt that deep down she did, but she was not ready to admit it. She has said that she did not know about my feelings for her back then and thought it was purely about sex, as that was all most men wanted from her. To make a very long backstory short, S has a history of ghosting me for days, weeks, or even months at a time. Every single time we discussed plans for going on an actual date, she would disappear. She did admit back then that she easily became overwhelmed and said she did not like to deal with things when that happened. She also acknowledged her insecurities regarding her appearance, though I have tried my best to reassure her that I find her beautiful. We lost contact for a year once the COVID-19 pandemic started. The next time I spoke with her, she revealed that she had a partner, a gender non-conforming male who had been living in another state but was moving in with her. The status of their relationship at the time I hooked up with S is unclear. They might have had an open relationship, as S asked if I would be interested in a threesome, but also instructed me not to tell her partner that we had hooked up before. I suspect that this partner was part of the reason she was hesitant to take our relationship beyond a sexual level. We texted sporadically for a couple of months, but it never developed further, and I decided to give up now that I knew she was in a relationship. 3 years later, in July 2024, I was feeling quite lonely one day and decided to reach out to S. She felt like the one who got away, and I still believed deep down that she had some feelings for me. I messaged her, and to my surprise, not only did she reply, but she expressed her excitement about hearing from me. It turns out she broke up with her partner a few months earlier in March 2024. I do not know the details, but she refers to it as a difficult breakup, and I know it is something she continued to struggle with for months after we started talking. S behaved much differently this time around. She was responsive, engaged, and interested in getting to know each other better on a personal level. She sent me good morning and good night texts, and we communicated frequently every single day. It was everything I had always wanted. The only issue is that she moved back home, which is 3 hours away. We both agree that we are not ready for anything serious right now, so we will continue talking and see where things lead in the future. About 3 months in, we had another discussion about this. We both wish we could have more, but it would be challenging for either of us to move right now. We do not want to lose one another, so we again agreed to maintain what we currently have. We had another discussion like this around New Year's Eve that ended the same way, with her stating that even though she wanted more, she did not think she could handle it at that time and was okay with keeping things as they were. Around mid-January, I began to notice a change. Text messages became less frequent, sometimes only once a day, and she appeared distant. I know the political changes in America were affecting her, and she mentioned that things on her college campus felt tense, leading her to feel worried and depressed. I did my best to reassure her and let her know I was there for her. During the first few days of February, she did not respond to my texts at all. This was the first time in 6 months that we did not communicate. After 3 days, I texted her again to ask if she was okay. She finally responded, apologized, and told me her mind was in a strange place and that she had been losing track of things. Things returned to a somewhat normal state over the next 2 weeks, but then she disappeared for a few days again. When I asked if she was all right, she finally replied that she had been very ill. The next day, she texted me to say she was feeling somewhat better and apologized for her lack of responsiveness lately. I told her it was fine, but what I said afterward was a mistake. I felt insecure about our relationship and worried that her interest in me was fading. I told her that I still felt as strongly about her as I always had and hoped she felt the same way. There was no response. I waited 24 hours and texted her again, stating that if she did not still feel that way, I would like to be informed. There was still no response. My anxiety skyrocketed, and after a couple of hours, I texted her again, pleading for her to say something. This was a huge and embarrassing mistake, I know. She did respond eventually, but only to say that this was not a good time for her to talk. I apologized and stated that I understood. A few days later, I texted her again to apologize. After a week, she finally texted me back. She informed me that she had been going through a tough time because her godfather had recently passed away, but after attending the funeral, she felt like she found some closure and her mind was clearer. She apologized again for her lack of responsiveness and explained that she had simply needed some space. She realized she should have communicated this to me and felt foolish for not doing so. She expressed that when things become difficult, she tends to shut down, but she would try to improve on this in the future because she felt terrible about missing me and had been thinking about me a lot. She asked me to forgive her if she had hurt my feelings because she genuinely cared about me and hated the thought of causing me pain. Of course, I gladly accepted her apology and told her how much I missed her and expressed my condolences regarding her loss. I stated that it was never an issue to give her space, but I wished she would communicate that with me instead of just disappearing. I expressed my hope that she would feel more comfortable telling me when something was wrong in the future because I care about her and want to support her. Additionally, I voiced my concern that I had ruined things, and she assured me that she did not think I could mess anything up. The following 2 weeks were wonderful. S returned to her old self and told me she felt genuinely happy because she had missed talking to me. Then in mid-March, I went on vacation. We continued to talk fairly regularly, but S expressed that she was feeling stressed and depressed about her college finals during this time. We were trying to find time to video call, and I asked her several times while I was on my trip about arranging a call. She consistently turned me down, saying she was tired or that it was too late, and since I had been asking late in the evening, I understood. On the last day of my trip around noon, she told me that her work shift had been canceled, she was at home, and she did not have any plans. Her finals were also over except for one last test in 3 days. I thought this would be the ideal time to call, but she shut me down again, saying it was not a good time. I felt hurt. I had been looking forward to seeing her and was excited to share all the things I had been doing on my trip. I said, okay, sorry, I won't ask again. She replied that she did not mind me asking but was not able to talk at that moment. The last thing she said to me was, I am being weird because things are weird for me right now. I am sorry. I asked for clarification regarding what that meant, and she has not replied since. That night, I texted her to express my regret for whatever she was experiencing but wished she would share what was wrong instead of shutting down. We had just discussed that a couple of weeks prior. I texted her in the following days to inform her that I was flying home, to wish her good luck on her last final, and once more the day after the final, hoping it went well. I waited 5 more days to text her again, this time asking for some form of communication because I was feeling very confused about what was happening. A couple of days later, I sent her a meme about missing her and requested that she respond. I waited another day and sent her another text, stating that I just wanted her to be okay, even if that meant taking some time away from me. I explained that the sudden drop-off in our communication was challenging for me, as she had become such an integral part of my daily life. I expressed that I cared about her, that I thought she was amazing, and that I did not want to lose her. I waited another 5 days before texting her yesterday on April 1st to say that I hoped a new month would bring some closure to whatever she was facing in March and provide her with a fresh start. I told her that I still miss and think about her and that I would be here when she was ready to talk. So that is where things stand now. I have been incredibly depressed about losing her, and it is impacting my work and friendships. I need some outside perspective and guidance on what to do next. I've considered texting her again to apologize for overwhelming her with my feelings when she declined my call, but I am concerned that I have already texted her too many times and that would only worsen the situation. It is difficult to resist the urge to text her when I miss her so profoundly. I do not know how long I should wait. A few additional points that might be relevant. March, the month when she stopped communicating with me, is also when she broke up with her partner. Perhaps the 1-year anniversary of that breakup is affecting her. Since we have been talking, we attempted to schedule a date to meet in person once. We both admitted to feeling nervous. She canceled on the day of, citing weather concerns, but I have reason to believe the weather was not as severe as she claimed. We agreed to try again after winter ended but have not discussed it much since. I know she has some issues with self-image and self-esteem. I do not have the exact wording saved as the messages were on Snapchat, but she once described herself as a huge piece of shit. I was taken aback by that because she had never expressed such negativity before. She explained, sorry, that is just how I talk about myself and what thoughts are running through my head. This is what I mean when I say I am scared you will find out how much I suck. I suspect this negativity towards herself may stem from something her ex has said to her, but that is merely a guess. Story 2. Blocked my ex after 4 years of on and off turmoil. She drunkenly kissed her friend while I waited to take her home, then said, I just use him. Now her friend wants me, who knew it would lead to passionate makeout sessions. Can I pursue her without hurting my ex? If you would like a summary, please specify which paragraph you would like summarized. 1. Background of the relationship. I'm male, 22 years old, and my former girlfriend, female, 19 years old, have been in an on and off relationship for approximately 4.5 years. I have known her since she was 12 and I was 15. We did not start dating until she was 13 and I was still 15. Our first relationship lasted about 2 years, after which she broke up with me because I did not get a job while I was on the wrestling team and competing in tournaments. Toward the end of my senior year, when COVID-19 was beginning to slow down, we started talking again before we could reconcile. She had begun dating someone else, and I was not in the best company at the time. I started using drugs about a year after she returned to my life, and my substance use worsened, but she still wanted to attempt a relationship because she believed she could help me. We were together for about a year and a half, but this time we had constant arguments because she did not trust me when I went out every night. Although I was not using drugs at that time, she was still in school. We broke up again and got back together shortly after because I had become clean. However, nothing changed between us and the fighting continued until I eventually broke down. We did not reconnect until recently when she reached out because her ex-boyfriend, male, 25 years old, had moved in with her and her mother. She had cheated on him, which led to his departure. Just a couple of weeks before she contacted me, she came over and expressed a desire to hook up, but I declined because I anticipated the same issues would arise again. I told her that our relationship would not resume until I was confident that we had both changed, even though I still wanted her. One day, while we were spending time together, she got a bottle of alcohol and became intoxicated in front of me. She called her ex-boyfriend to meet her at our location, and when he arrived, I left because I knew I had no influence in their relationship, and she clearly did not want to be with me. Later, she expressed hatred toward me for leaving instead of supporting her. 2. Yesterday, my ex-girlfriend, female, 19 years old, texted me, asking if I could accompany her to a dispensary. After we went together, she mentioned she was having a terrible day and wanted to do something fun, so we decided to go to the beach. I did not realize until we were about to depart that she had been drinking. Just before leaving, one of her friends, female, 21 years old, called. This friend was with her most recent ex-boyfriend, male, 25 years old, and invited them to join us without consulting me first, even though it was initially just supposed to be the two of us. We ended up going to pick them up before heading to the beach. My ex-girlfriend told me not to be upset because she had a crush on this friend and wanted to kiss her. Since we were not together and had been separated for 2.5 years, I had no right to object. During the drive to the beach, my ex-girlfriend and her friend drank continuously. I do not drink as I am a recovering addict, and she is aware of this. When we arrived, my ex-girlfriend became blackout drunk, which was not the first time I had to take care of her. She became so intoxicated that she could not walk without stumbling. Her friends and I decided to stay in the car until we eventually agreed to go home after about 30 minutes. On our way back, my ex and her female friend began kissing, which did not bother me. Upon reaching my ex's home, she decided she did not want them to leave yet, resulting in a trip to a viewpoint surrounded by orange trees. While my friend and I got out to pick some oranges, my ex lost her phone and used mine to contact her most recent ex-boyfriend, male, 25 years old, to invite him to meet us. I had a good rapport with him, but he and I had made an agreement not to hang out in her presence. When my friend and I returned to the car, my ex was crying about her lost phone and accused me of taking it. Eventually, we found it under the seat, and at that point I noticed the call to her ex on my phone. This was not the first time she had abandoned me to go to him while we were hanging out. She had previously promised not to do so again, acknowledging that it hurt me. I tried to hide my feelings, but I stated that I did not want to spend time with her and her ex. Her friends expressed their preference for me over him and encouraged her to avoid him and remain with me for the remainder of the night. As we neared home, she began texting her ex, who was almost at her house, while her friends decided to leave. One of their friends was nearby and picked them up. Before her ex arrived, I informed her that she needed to make a decision. She could either go hang out with him or stay with me. I specified that if she chose him, I would not respond to her calls the next day. She claimed she did not want to see him, but when he arrived, I reiterated that she had to make a choice. She said nothing, merely gathered her things and got into his vehicle. While we were conversing, he asked if we were supposed to hang out for the rest of the night, and I confirmed this. He then asked her if she was not going to spend time with me, and she replied that she was just using me. She had left her car at my house, so I asked her what she wanted to do about it. Although she wanted to retrieve it, she remained highly intoxicated and it was not a short drive. I decided to walk and get her car, return it to her home, and leave in my own vehicle. By the time I returned, they were gone, which I had anticipated. I left her keys and wallet with her mother, expecting at least a thank you message or an apology the following day. When I woke up, I received nothing. A little while later, she called me crying because her alcohol was missing. I assumed her mother took it, so she begged me to buy her another bottle. I told her not to expect anything from me anymore because I was officially done being used. While I was willing to be friends, I did not expect to be treated this way. She began to laugh and claimed that nothing I stated had occurred and that she only remembered going home. I have messages that verify what happened. I have received no apology or expression of gratitude, and she has not contacted me since that morning. I eventually discovered that she and her ex had gone out with his friends the following day. 3. I seek guidance on how I can communicate with her to resolve this matter without it devolving into a shouting match. How can I help her understand my perspective? 4. My ex's friend began to kiss me. 5. My ex's female friend, 21 years old, who accompanied us to the beach, was aware of my ex's actions, contacting her ex to meet up and was checking on me to ensure I was okay. Before arriving at my ex's house, we stopped so they could use the restroom. This friend and I were waiting for my ex and her boyfriend, 20 years old. While we were talking, I glanced in her direction after she spoke, and she was giving me flirtatious looks. After a moment, she stepped closer, placed her hand on my head, and pulled me in for a kiss. I had not been kissed or touched since my breakup with my ex 2.5 years ago, so I allowed it to unfold. When she did not stop, I felt I needed to seize the opportunity and kissed her back while rubbing her back and waist. She began to touch me inappropriately, and I reciprocated. Then she whispered in my ear, saying she did not deserve my ex wanted me and was extremely aroused, specifically stating that she wanted to perform oral sex. This is the only part I remember word for word. We continued to kiss, and I was touching her while she wore spandex shorts, allowing me to feel that she was wet. She began to moan in my ear. Suddenly, I heard the bathroom door unlock, prompting me to try to pull away, but she held onto my hand and pants. As the bathroom door opened, she released me and stopped just as her boyfriend walked out. He appeared oblivious to what had occurred, or if he did notice, he chose not to comment. During the car ride home, she sat in the back with my ex while her boyfriend sat next to me in the front. She was grabbing my shoulder and scratching my neck with her nails. My ex, distracted by texting her most recent ex-boyfriend, did not notice. Upon arriving at my ex's house, her boyfriend exited to meet his friends and provided me with his Instagram before leaving, expressing his desire to hang out again. The female friend informed him that she would talk to my ex briefly, which they did. Before exiting, my ex was about to enter the front seat when her friend leaned toward me, placed her hand on my neck, and told me to find her on Instagram, sharing her username. She exited, and since the lights in my car do not illuminate, she wished my ex goodbye with a kiss and smiled at me beautifully as she walked away. The female friend and her boyfriend are not in a relationship. They are exes who remain friends, so she did nothing wrong. 6. I want to determine the best approach to pursue this girl without upsetting my ex-girlfriend. Additionally, I would like to communicate my feelings for this female friend to her boyfriend without jeopardizing our new friendship if possible. 7. I apologize for the length of this post. I needed to share my thoughts. Even if you only read the more intriguing part, it was indeed the most enjoyable aspect of the experience. I do not have friends to confide in, and my family does not communicate with me. My ex-girlfriend was the only person I could share anything with. I just needed to express my feelings somewhere, and even if no one responds, it would be comforting to know that someone has listened. A story 3. Stuck in the middle of friend drama, I tried to stay neutral, but it blew up in my face. "You've betrayed me," Lena screamed. Nora called, "Now you don't want to help." All I wanted was peace, but instead I watched friendships crumble. Was silence my biggest mistake? I never thought I would end up posting something like this, but after years of holding it in, I needed to express my feelings. I would love to hear honest opinions. Was I actually wrong for trying to remain neutral? I never imagined I would be the person writing one of these posts here. Honestly, I used to believe that most stories on Reddit like this were either fabricated or overly dramatic. I thought, there is no way adult friendships become that complicated. Well, I was mistaken. It turns out, things can become much messier than I ever anticipated. For context, I am a 25-year-old male, and I had a small social circle that spiraled into chaos over the last few years. It all began at university when I met a friend, let us call her Lena, who is a 25-year-old female. Through Lena, I met a married couple, Nora, who is in her mid-30s, and Victor, who is in his early 30s. Later, Nora introduced us to another couple, Mark and Sarah, who are around 30 years old, genuinely kind, welcoming people who, looking back, were probably the only calm ones in this entire situation. Initially, everything was fine. We would meet up occasionally, have meals, and play board games. One thing I noticed early on was that Lena was never very close to Mark and Sarah. I am not certain why. There was no actual conflict, but she always kept her distance, even though Sarah especially would frequently invite us over. I used to encourage Lena to join us so that she would not feel left out. Most of the time, she politely declined. I did not press the matter. Fast forward 2 years, Mark and Sarah got married. Due to some family and immigration complications, Sarah did not have many guests at her wedding. She asked Nora to help her with a small favor on that day. Nora initially agreed, but later backed out at the last minute and arrived late. I did not think much of it at the time. Life happens. A week or two after the wedding, Nora and Sarah stopped communicating. I assumed it was a minor disagreement that they would resolve soon. However, months passed, and it became evident that something deeper was occurring. I stayed out of it, figuring it was their business. Eventually, I heard Nora's version of events. Later, I heard from others that Sarah was upset because Nora had been discussing their fallout in a way that made Sarah look bad. I did not really know who was right or wrong, so I remained silent. I did not want to take sides. Then came another situation. Sarah and Mark were planning to visit a mutual friend, Julia, who lived near me. Julia invited me to hang out when they visited, nothing elaborate, just some food and games. Sarah and Mark also contacted me directly. Lena was also invited and initially agreed to come, but later began to second-guess her decision because of the drama between Nora and Sarah. She asked for my opinion. I told her honestly, I was not choosing sides. I was simply going because I enjoyed board games and their company. I also did not offer to pick her up or drop her off as I usually did, not because I was upset, but because I did not want her to feel pressured. A few weeks later, Nora called me and shared her perspective on the falling out again. I listened without commenting. I did not want to exacerbate the situation. Not long after that, Nora and Victor invited me over. I assumed it was for a casual evening. Instead, it turned into something I never expected. They sat me down and questioned me as if I were in an interrogation room. No joke, I felt like I was being grilled for information in some kind of investigation. They wanted me to tell them everything I knew about the fallout and appeared frustrated that I had not taken a side. I explained the truth. I remained silent because I genuinely thought they would eventually sort things out, and I did not want to be the person caught in the middle, relaying messages back and forth. Apparently, that was not the answer they were looking for. After that conversation, I thought things might settle down, but it became even messier. Before I left Victor and Nora's home, their child was not feeling well, and I offered to drive them to a doctor if necessary. They said they would wait and see, so I left and returned home. I was exhausted, had not eaten all day, and just wanted to get through some laundry and have dinner. When I finally checked my phone, I saw multiple missed calls from Nora and Victor. I immediately guessed why. They probably needed a ride to the hospital. They do not have a car and Victor does not drive. Without responding, I grabbed my keys and drove straight to their home. Sure enough, they were still packing up and had not booked a taxi yet. I drove them to the hospital. It was close to midnight. After I dropped them off, I waited in my car in case they needed anything. While I was waiting there, I received a message from Nora that said something along the lines of, "Oh, now you do not want to help anymore." That message really affected me. I had just rushed over without hesitation, rearranged my night, and was still being accused of not caring. I texted Lena and asked if she had said anything to Nora. She became upset and defensive and basically implied that I was siding with Nora. While I was still on the phone with Lena, Nora called, so I ended the call with Lena and answered. Nora informed me that they would be staying overnight at the hospital to monitor the baby and said I could go home. Before I hung up, I even told her that I would keep my phone on loud in case they needed me. The next morning she called again around 6 a.m., but I was sound asleep and missed it. When I woke up and saw the missed call, I immediately tried to call back but could not reach them. Later in the afternoon, I called Victor and apologized for missing their call. He told me they were home already and resting. I inquired about the baby's condition and left it at that. That night, Lena and I had a conversation, or rather, an argument over text. I realized from what she said that our friendship was essentially over. She seemed to believe I was siding with Nora all along and had betrayed her in some way, even though I had tried to remain neutral. A day or two later, I met up with Victor to return the child seat I had used in my car to drive them to the hospital. He asked if I wanted to come inside, and I agreed. I saw Nora there as well. I figured that since I had already heard from both Lena and Nora that they spoke almost daily, and since everything had become so complicated, I should be honest about how I felt. I told them honestly that I did not think I could continue my friendship with Lena, even if she apologized. This was not because I disliked her, but because of the accusations and assumptions she had made about me. I also made it clear to Victor and Nora that I was not asking them to choose sides. If they wanted to be closer to Lena, that was fine. I did not want anyone to feel trapped because of me. During that conversation, Nora casually mentioned something I had not known before, that apparently some people in the group thought Lena might have developed feelings for me, which could explain why she reacted the way she did. I never viewed Lena in that light. I had always thought of her as a friend, almost like a sibling. In retrospect, I realized there were small moments I overlooked, such as a trip to a temple a few weeks before all this unfolded. Lena had wanted to visit, and I joined her because I thought it would be enjoyable. That day, I was running late due to a series of minor mishaps. When I finally arrived, she appeared tense, but I thought nothing of it. Later, I discovered she had been upset that we had not arrived earlier, something she never mentioned to me at the time. Apparently, those kinds of issues had accumulated for her over time without me realizing it. A few months later, after all the turmoil settled, I reached out to Nora and Victor to suggest going out for dinner or perhaps taking a short trip. I had received a promotion at work and thought I would treat them. Nora replied, congratulating me, but also informed me they would no longer accept any invitations from me. If I wanted, I could invite Victor separately. However, she made it clear she was not interested. That message genuinely confused me. I had not done anything other than attempt to remain neutral and help where I could, but it felt like, no matter what I did, I ended up being the one everyone resented. Final thoughts. I genuinely tried to avoid taking sides. I remained silent because I believed that eventually they would all reconcile, and I did not want to worsen the situation by interfering. But apparently staying neutral is the worst thing I could have done. Both Lena and Nora told me at different times that my biggest mistake was not choosing a side. Even now, I ponders. Was I truly wrong to remain neutral? Or was I merely caught in something that was never my responsibility to fix in the first place? Story 4. I fell for a woman who admitted, "I love me because I'm talking about cheating on you," while hiding a past of prostitution and trauma. After she broke up, all she wanted was the money I'd lent her. Now I'm left with emotional scars but no herpes time to heal and move on. Background. I met her when I was just beginning a new job, and she was being transferred out due to a demotion. Fortunately, we do not encounter each other at work. This allowed us some time to get to know one another, and before her official transfer, I asked for her phone number, which led to our conversations. After a few weeks of small talk, I asked her out and she accepted. I took her to a local cafe where we connected well. We shared a goodbye kiss for the night, and I ended up visiting her place over the weekend where we became intimate, although we did not have sexual intercourse. I asked if she viewed us as boyfriend and girlfriend, and she confirmed. This signified the start of our relationship. A week later, she revealed that she has herpes, but after researching the condition, I decided that I did not want to potentially lose out on someone because of this. For the most part, things were acceptable. There were some behaviors I noted as red flags, but I thought they could be managed. She wanted to discuss having children and marriage quite early, around the second or third week of our dating. She also admitted to having cheated on partners in her previous relationships, but justified it by saying that the men were cheating on her as well. About a month in, I lent her a significant amount of money to cover a bill less than $1,000. I realize now that this was a mistake. Where it went wrong. We had been dating for 2.5 months when on New Year's Eve we went to a bar near her residence. Before entering, she expressed concern that she might encounter an ex-boyfriend. I suggested we try another place, but ultimately we decided to go to that bar. Once inside, she scanned the room, covered her face, and rushed for the exit. I proposed that we leave, but she insisted on staying, so I acquiesced. Things seemed fine for the most part. After about 30 minutes, we went upstairs, where she instructed me to stand a few feet away, as she wanted to speak with a man she claimed was her ex. Foolishly, I complied and remained back while I observed them talking. I could not hear their conversation, but she did not appear happy. Once she finished, I took her hand and led her outside. I was quite upset that she did not want me to hear their conversation and believed her priority should have been me. She seemed worried that he might do something to us while we were present. We spent the remainder of the night in my car, and aside from the bar experience, it was generally enjoyable. I did not bring up the issue with her ex again, and a few weeks passed without incident, with things appearing okay. She did seem a bit emotionally distant one particular week, but I reasoned that it was due to her work. We continued to go on dates and remain intimate. I inquired about her distance during that week, and she assured me that everything was still fine between us. However, during one of our dates, she dropped a shocking revelation. She admitted to having been a prostitute to a few men. I tried to rationalize her actions and not blame her, but understandably, most people would find that difficult to accept. I told her I accepted her for it and could not hold her accountable for events that occurred before we met. A week later, she came to my place, and to summarize, she told me the full extent of her sexual history. I asked her for this information because I felt betrayed that she claimed to have disclosed all of her baggage but never mentioned her past as a prostitute. Honestly, just recalling what she said makes me feel nauseous. Among many other things, she mentioned being at a bar where she was gang raped while passed out in the restroom. She exhibited no emotion while sharing this and even smiled as she said, "It honestly felt nice," followed by a chuckle. I embraced her and cried as she recounted all of this because it seemed to me that she was a victim. However, as I stated, she did not seem troubled by sharing her experiences. There was no shame or guilt either. However, approximately a week later, what she did next infuriated me, and I am still extremely angry. She confided that she was experiencing intrusive thoughts about having sexual relations with the ex-boyfriend she encountered at the bar. Initially, she claimed the thought only lasted a fleeting moment, and she would redirect her mind, but as I probed further, she eventually confessed that one. The thoughts lingered longer, up to a few minutes too. At times, she deliberately entertained those thoughts at work because she felt aroused, and 3, she admitted to previously considering retrieving her car keys and driving over to his location. She confirmed that this was occurring while we were dating and would call and text me whenever she experienced these thoughts. Moreover, she stated, "I love myself because I am talking about cheating on you, and you are not getting angry." She questioned whether I could trust her, essentially boasting about how I would be left wondering what she was doing at night and on weekends. Looking back, I should have ended the relationship right then, but my inexperience prevented me from recognizing my own worth. Side note, I am uncertain whether this individual was even her ex. For all I know, he could have been a random stranger, and she was emotionally manipulating me with this. When she broke up with me, I confronted her about this, suggesting that she desired me to marry her out of jealousy. Breakup. After 2 to 3 days of discussing these intrusive thoughts, she wanted to meet me after work. I was prepared to confront her and honestly break up with her. We met and she ultimately ended the relationship. That was bad enough, but she felt the need to add that during the times she said, "I love you," she did not genuinely mean it. She expressed a desire to stay in touch and remain friends, which I accepted, believing there might be a chance to reconcile in the future. Back and forth. We continued our conversations after the breakup, as I needed to retrieve my belongings from her. One day, she invited me to her place for the night while I collected my things. I accepted, and even though nothing sexual transpired, she invited me to sleep in the same bed as her. When I departed the next morning, I kissed her goodbye thinking things must be improving and that she was interested in trying again. Upon returning home, she texted me, expressing concern that I might have misunderstood her intentions and confirming that she still did not want to be with me. At that point, I demanded she repay me the money I had lent her. To my surprise, she promptly sent the money, and I concluded that was the end of it. I wished her well in life and began to move on. A week or two later, she casually messaged me, stating that she regretted repaying me so quickly. She did not inquire about my well-being, just focused on the money. I ignored her texts and calls all day until I responded in the evening, indicating that it was audacious of her to return for the money without showing concern for my feelings. At that moment, I was extremely reluctant to return her loan. After a few days of talking, she promised that she would change, attend therapy, focus on securing a better job, and read a book on relationships, etc. She showed me a diary entry and a list of job applications she had submitted. She also acknowledged that she had made mistakes in our relationship and expressed her intention to try again. She insisted that she was not contacting me solely for the money and genuinely wanted to resolve our issues. I brought up the intrusive thoughts regarding her ex and informed her that this was utterly unacceptable and needed to be addressed. After several days of evaluating her statements, I decided to lend her the money again, but we established a repayment plan. After some time, I expressed my desire to see her again, and we arranged to have lunch in a week. Then a few days before our lunch date, she called and told me she was uncertain about trying again, stating that she did not want to raise my expectations. She then confessed that she had lied about wanting to reconcile and had only reached out for the money. At that moment, I was furious. I confronted her about all the hurtful things she had said and done, even telling her that I would not allow a prostitute to be the mother of my children, and demanded she repay me by the week's end. Thankfully, she once again repaid me fairly quickly. She attempted to guilt-trip me by implying that I did not care if her car were repossessed or if she became homeless. She lives with her parents and does not pay rent. We have been alternating between space and communication over the past week, yet she had the audacity to be angry and claim that she was the one who had been hurt. So now I plan to move on from her for good, but I would be dishonest if I said I do not miss her. One silver lining is that at least I did not contract herpes, but the emotional scars will require time to heal. My therapist suspects that she may have borderline personality disorder, narcissism, and schizophrenia, and since she is opposed to seeking help, this has likely gone untreated throughout her life. However, it is no longer my problem to resolve. TLDR. I began a relationship with a woman who revealed a deeply troubling past filled with numerous red flags, manipulated and lied to me, openly discussed cheating on me, and now I recognize the necessity of cutting ties for good and focusing on my own healing. Story 5. Trapped in a corporate hell, I feel like I'm suffocating, I cried as my soulless job drained my spirit over the years. With each shift, my mental health plummets while I long for a way out, praying for the company to just go out of business. How did I end up here? For years, I have been trapped in a corporation that I absolutely cannot tolerate. It pays the bills and offers good benefits, but the actual daily experience of customer service and debt collection is genuinely miserable, and things have only worsened over time. The promises and opportunities that were presented when I first joined have either completely vanished or never genuinely existed as described. The work itself was never particularly enjoyable, but initially it was manageable and reasonable. However, during my time here, I have witnessed firsthand how they continue to strip away the elements that initially attracted us to work here, while simultaneously increasing our burden by assigning us additional responsibilities and providing us fewer and fewer reliable resources. We have reached a point where what I am doing now is entirely different from what I signed up for, and the overall situation has deteriorated significantly. I have held bad jobs in the past and had no issues enduring them to put food on the table. But a significant advantage I had in those roles that I lack here is the ability to zone out, disassociate, and enter a mental autopilot to complete my work until it was time to go home. That luxury is non-existent in my current position. I spend 9 hours a day constantly communicating and dealing with situations that require critical thinking and careful consideration of unique scenarios, or I risk being fired quickly. As a result, I painfully experience every slow second of each shift, regardless of any mental strategies I attempt to employ. That said, if the pay were more reasonable, it might be worth it. However, it is not. My current salary is nearly the same as when I first began years ago, and at that time we were promised that it would only be the starting pay, with substantial increases after a few months, which never materialized. The bonuses we were informed about did prove to be real, but with a catch. The company finds nearly every excuse, no matter how trivial, to significantly reduce our bonuses, or more often than not, to withhold them entirely, even when we meet all the requirements. Opportunities to transfer to other departments within the company have either ceased to exist or have become positions that ask us to sacrifice what little of our integrity remains, while being inferior versions of our current jobs, with the usual lack of pay increases. Many individuals in those departments, as well as in my own, have resigned or have been laid off. Consequently, the situation continues to worsen for those of us who remain. By laid off, I mean being terminated for reasons that are nonsensical and not genuinely justified, as Florida is a state where an employer can dismiss you for virtually any reason without consequence, unless you can definitively prove it was discriminatory. And even then, under the current administration, that may not matter, while also leaving you without unemployment benefits or severance pay. Despite all this, a part of me still hopes to wake up one morning to find out I have been fired, or better yet, that the company has gone out of business, allowing me to escape this hellish environment. Additionally, this job has taken a significant toll on my mental health. I have not felt such terrible emotions daily since I was a teenager, and I find that some of the same coping mechanisms I once used are creeping back into my mind, although I have managed to resist those urges thanks to my wife's support. I genuinely believe that discussing this job with a therapist would not be wise because if I disclosed how it impacts me, I would likely risk being involuntarily committed. Even if I chose not to reveal that, it seems pointless to pay for therapy when I would feel compelled to conceal the truth. For the most part, my life outside of work is genuinely not bad and I am grateful for what I have. However, I cannot adequately express how much this job is mentally destroying me, eroding parts of my personality with its bitterness. Any time spent enjoying life outside of work seems to vanish in an instant, while I endure every agonizing second of this workplace. I have been hanging in there for as long as I can, and I genuinely feel I am at the end of my mental rope. If I have to continue in this position much longer, something is bound to break. Although I have experienced terrible jobs before, they at least compensated me well enough to make it worthwhile. I liked my colleagues, I could zone out while working, or they possess some redeeming qualities. In contrast, none of that applies here, and I feel utterly trapped. To complicate matters further, the job market is currently abysmal, making me feel as though there is nowhere for me to turn. My wife encourages me to quit this job, but only if I have another job lined up that pays at least similarly, which is reasonable but feels like an impossibility right now. I have been searching relentlessly for an exit for the past 6 months, reaching out to friends and family for job leads or references, and applying for at least 100 jobs each week. The results have yielded nothing of value. I have utilized Indeed, LinkedIn, ZipRecruiter, and have applied directly on company websites, everything. My resume has been reviewed and improved by peers who are experts in this area. I have scoured the internet for advice and taken note of any relevant information, even crafting specific cover letters tailored to the jobs for which I'm applying. Yet after all of that, the only responses I receive are from scams, multi-level marketing schemes, positions that pay far less than advertised, and so on. I have even contemplated returning to previous jobs, but they either no longer exist, are not hiring, or are ghosting me just like most other positions in the market. This post serves more as a vent than a request for advice. I have sought advice from various sources and have examined responses from others in similar situations, often finding that the suggestions offered are ones I have already considered and implemented. Some are impractical, unhelpful, or merely promotional pitches for individuals' personal agendas. Many people who have not been in the job hunt over the past few years genuinely do not understand how dire the job market is for those of us who are actively seeking work. The suggestion to just go back to college is not the brilliant solution many assume it is, because even if I could afford to invest the time and money in returning, I know several individuals with advanced degrees who are still struggling to find employment. The statement "this is normal, just deal with it" is also unhelpful because it implies I should simply accept a situation that exacerbates my unhappiness each day. The suggestion to just quit and go elsewhere is a dream I entertain daily and nightly. However, if it were that simple, I would not be in this position. The concerns I have expressed about the poor job market, coupled with the fact that without a steady income, we cannot live comfortably in this dreadful economy, leave me with a wife and pets to care for, as well as my reliance on prescription medications. I have never had a job affect my entire life this adversely before. I genuinely feel as if I am suffocating, yet I feel compelled to endure for now. In summary, I am simply venting that while my life is generally okay, this job in which I find myself trapped has caused me significant distress, and the job market is so poor that I currently see no way out.